What's up, fellas? In this video, I'm going to tell you the timeline of a professional gambler, a professional sports bettor. There's not much information on this online, so I felt like making a video about it. Any video that I make, I want it to have carryover to you personally. I can make a lot of videos about a lot of stories that I've gone through in my life, in my sports betting journey specifically, but they might not have that much carryover to you. Maybe they'll just have some entertainment value. But most of the time, 90% of the time, when I make a video, I want you to be able to learn from it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a story about how I came to be, how long I've been gambling, how long it took me to get professional gambling, or how long it took me before I went full-time in gambling, etc., etc. And the takeaway that you can learn from that is how long it's going to take yourself. And I'll obviously tell you some tips and tricks and things that I learned along the way that hopefully you can use in your own gambling career. So I've been gambling for a very long time. It's 2024 at the time I'm making this video, right? And I first started gambling, the very first time I started gambling was on the greyhound races. And the reason for that is because my granddad owned greyhound dogs. If you don't know what greyhound dogs are, they're a breed of dog called greyhound, and they are bred to participate in a sport called dog racing. Greyhound racing. It's just like horse racing, but it's the poor person's version of horse racing, basically. So horse racing, if you own horses, if you train horses, if you're involved in the horse racing industry, you probably have a lot of money. Some horses are sold for millions and millions of dollars, and it's not uncommon for a horse to be sold for $1 million and above. Whereas in greyhound racing, you can literally buy a dog for £500. You can buy a dog for $500, right? So greyhound racing is kind of like the poor version of horse racing. And my granddad owned a lot of greyhound dogs. And so because he owned them, he brought me up for a lot of his life. I was brought up by my grandparents. And so I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house around these racing dogs. And obviously, when the dogs would run on the weekend, I would go to the dog track at about 2 years old, 3 years old, and watch these dogs run. Now, obviously, I didn't know what was going on at 2 or 3 years old, but I would still watch them run. I would still be around the industry. So I grew up in that industry. I was going to the dog track many weekends for a lot of my life in my childhood, before I actually became a teenager, before I became an adult. 10 years old, 11 years old, I was making bets. I was making bets at like 5 and 6 years old. I've told stories about that before. Obviously, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just scribbling on a piece of paper, but I was making bets. But I was legitimately making bets at 11 years old, 12 years old. I was saying, Granddad, I think this is going to win. Go and put this bet on for me. And I would hold the ticket, the physical bet ticket. There weren't no internet betting at that point. I was holding the physical bet ticket and I would watch the dog run. And if it won, my granddad would collect the bet for me. Obviously, I'm 10 years old, I can't collect the bet. And he would give me the money back. So I was literally making bets off my own accord, off my own research at 10 years old, 11 years old, right? So I've been betting for a long time. When I started betting consistently and properly was probably from the ages of like maybe 16, probably about 16 upwards. I would hang out in the bookmakers, the brick and mortar bookmakers of the streets of London. So if you go to London, anyone who's been to London or lives in London will notice basically every single street corner there's a bookmakers, whether that be Ladbrokes, William Hill, Betfred, Corals. There's many different bookmakers that have shops situated throughout the streets of London, and it's very common in low income areas specifically to hang out at these bookmakers. It's kind of like a degenerate place to hang out, to be honest. Like, not a lot of good goes down there, and there weren't much for us to do on the streets at 15 years old, 16 years old. So a lot of the time I would be hanging in these bookmakers, outside the bookmakers, around the bookmakers. We'll go to the shop, we'll go maybe play football, we'll go ride our bikes, whatever it may be. Just basically hanging around on the street as young boys, and being inside the bookies or outside the bookies was a big part of that. So obviously I'm not allowed to bet at 15 years old, 16 years old. It's illegal to bet, right? You have to be over 18. But I was still making bets at this time. You know, I've done videos on it on the past, and basically I was making bets through other people that were of age, or sometimes they just didn't ask for my ID. I think they knew I was underage, but you know, there's a big group of us, the cashiers behind the desk, they don't want any trouble, so they don't even ask for ID. They just let me put the bets on. In some bookmakers, we actually knew the people who work behind the counter because they're from the area. They know us from the area. So whatever it may be, there was many different ways that I was able to place bets at 15 years old, let's say. So I did. And honestly, from the age of 15, I've basically been betting ever since. Now, around those times, I was betting mainly on horse racing and football. So football is soccer for anyone who's in America. In the UK, obviously, we call it football, and it's the biggest sport in the world, biggest sport in England by far. And that's what I was betting on. And honestly, when I was betting on these sports, even horse racing, I wasn't doing well, right? I wasn't winning. Maybe I'd win some, I'd lose some. I'd go for a very hot streak of 2 or 3 months where I'd win loads of bets. Then I'd go for a bad streak of 2 or 3 months where I'd lose loads of bets. And overall, over the long term, I would probably assume that I was breaking even. Now, I don't know because I never tracked my bets at this point. I didn't even know what tracking bets was. I literally just bet for fun. I was obviously trying to bet to make a quick buck. I was obviously trying to bet to make money, but I didn't know how to make money. I was just betting because I thought it was fun. It was just something you did. We was hanging in the bookmakers, might as well put a bet on anyway. It's just something to pass time, something to kill time. I like football, I watch football, might as well make a bet on it. It's just something you did growing up in London. Everybody did it. It was super common. And that's just what it was. That's just what we did, you know. And I did that for many years, you know, until the ages of 18, 19, and I had no idea what I was doing. Now, I'd say for probably about 3 or 4 years, from like the age of 15 to 18, 19, I had no idea what I was doing, and I never even once thought to look into sports betting. Now, it's funny because I knew people who were making a lot of money from sports betting, but they were my granddad's friends. They were people I knew through my granddad. They were older people. I didn't really care about them at the time. I didn't think to speak about them. My mindset wasn't that smart at that age. I wasn't really thinking to myself, okay, these guys are making a lot of money from betting. I'm betting. I might as well ask them how they made their money. That wasn't where my mindset was. Nowadays, if I see someone making a lot of money from the thing I want to do, obviously I'm going to listen to them. Obviously I'm going to ask them how they did it. But at 15, 16, 17 years of age, I didn't really give a shit. I was just betting for fun, like I said, with my friends, alone, whatever, to make some money. Even though I knew people making money, I wasn't asking them how they did it. So like I said, I bet for 3 or 4 years and had no idea how to do it. I was just betting, right? I had no idea how to bet properly, how to bet with an edge, how to find value. I was just betting basically for the sake of it. And that's why I was losing money. Now, when I got a bit older, I started to get a bit smarter, as is the case with everybody in the world. At the age of 18, 19, 20, whatever, you know, around that age, it's hard to remember the exact age, but around that age, I started to think, all right, I've been gambling now for 4 or 5 years. I've made basically no money from it. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. But I've gone through periods where I have made a lot of money, and I have made a lot of good bets, obviously, right? A lot of them probably just from luck, but I had made a lot of good bets. So I knew that there could potentially be some money in this, right? So I started to look into gambling. I started to Google gambling, how to make money from gambling, etc., etc. Then I came across arbitrage betting, right? Then I started to look into arbitrage betting. I did arbitrage betting for a little while, didn't like it. You can Google what arbitrage betting is if you don't know what it is, but basically it's a guaranteed way to make money, but the money you make is very small, and it's a lot of time you have to put in to make that money. Now, obviously people do this for a living. I know our bettors right now that do it for a living, so maybe it's got better, but at the time I was doing it, it was a lot of work for little reward, and it wasn't fun. There was no fun in it. I guess maybe because it's guaranteed. There's just no fun in it, and the edge is so small. Whereas if you're a handicapper, you can literally find a line that is 20, 30% inaccurate, right? Whereas when you're doing arbitrage betting, you're getting like a 1% return on your investment, roughly. That's what I was doing anyway, right? So I started looking into that. I did that for a while, and this is about 4 years into my journey right now. 4 years into my consistent sports betting journey, and like 10 years after I placed my very first bet, right? So this is where everything started changing, because I had finally took it upon myself to actually learn about sports betting. Now, obviously I went from arbitrage, then I went to other types of sports betting. I went to specific sports. I varied through different sports. I actually spoke to people I knew who was making money. There was somebody I knew who was an older guy. He was quite old. He was like 65 years of age or something. But I knew him because I used to see him in the betting shop basically every single day, because I used to be there every single day. I knew he was there every single day. I just used to say hello to him, right? And he had a laptop that he used to bring into the betting shop. And I asked him one day, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? And then he told me a little bit, but I didn't really listen. He told me how he makes money this way. I didn't really listen. And my granddad also knew him, because one of the betting shops I used to go to, it's round the corner from my granddad's house, because I used to live right near him. It's all in the same area. And I asked my granddad, I was just chatting to my granddad, and he said, yeah, I know that guy. This is how he makes money. And then he told me how he makes money. Basically, what this guy used to do, he would have the Betfair exchange market up on his laptop, right? And he would see the current prices on the exchange. I don't know if it was only Betfair, maybe other exchanges, but back then there wasn't that many around. But he used to see what the current price of a selection was on the exchange, right? And then he used to compare it to the price that was in the betting shop that he was in. And the betting shop that he was in, that I'm talking about, that I used to see him in, was Betfred. But little did I know, he used to go around all of the betting shops in London to get the best price. And basically compare what the exchange market was to the current price in the bookmakers. And what he would try to do was find the edge based on those two numbers. When there was a massive disparity in odds, he would bet and make money because of that disparity, right? Because what he would think is that, all right, if there's such a big difference between these odds and the current market on the exchange right now, there's probably some value on those odds. I'm going to bet on those odds. And what he also used to do was, in the bookmakers, used to get bonuses, right? So like certain selections, mainly on horse racing, he used to do horse racing only, I think. Certain horses would be price boosted, right? So the Betfred would say, all right, we're going to boost this price of this horse on this race. And he used to take advantage of those bonuses. He used to take advantage of those boosts, because now a horse has gone from 5-4 to 6-4. So now he's got even bigger edge from the price boosted price to what he's seeing on the exchange market on his laptop. And he used to basically bet on that horse, or sometimes he used to bet against the horse. I don't know the intricacies of what he used to do, but that's the way he used to make money. So I started looking at people that were making money, started finding out how they was making money, and I tried to implement a lot of what I had learned doing that into my own game. Now, this was a long process. This was a 1-2 year process. I was learning, but I was definitely getting better at sports betting. I was getting smarter at sports betting, and I was trying to take a smarter approach. Now, I wasn't all in on sports betting at this time. I've got a whole life going on at this time. You can imagine I'm 19, 20 years old in the inner city of London. A lot of shit's going on in my outside life, my home life, my street life, like everything's happening. I'm a 19, 20-year-old kid, like popping off. But I was also a sports bettor, but I wasn't fully involved. And it's very important, because when I got fully involved, that's when the rocket ship took off and when I started to make money, right? So it's important to understand that even though at this point I've been betting for 5, 6, 7 years, I wasn't fully invested in sports betting, right? But nevertheless, I'm learning. And let's say I hit 21, 22. A lot of stuff's happened over the years, obviously, that I haven't mentioned. But at this point, I'm 22 years old or something like that. I've been betting for about 7 years, and I'm still not making any money from sports betting. So it's funny, because a lot of people will watch this video or watch my videos and think, oh yeah, this guy, he's making this money. Maybe I can do it too. But you don't understand how long I've been gambling. You don't understand what I went through to get here. You don't understand that through, like that story that I just told you, from betting at 15 years old to now I'm 22. I lost so much money during this time at specific periods. I won money as well, obviously I had a lot of money, but I also lost a lot of money. I lost bankrolls. I lost the entire amount of money that I had at that point more than once, right, during this 7-year period. And it also went on for longer than that, right? I've been betting still to this day. I've been betting for 15 years at this point, longer than 15 years. So it's like, about 15 years. So, I learned so many lessons along the way. So people watching, or people thinking, how long is it going to take me? Maybe it's not going to take you as long as me. Because like I said, I wasn't watching videos like this. If you're watching a video like this, you're 100 times ahead of me. And there is almost no videos like this out there on the internet. That's why I'm making these videos. But I want to be realistic and tell you that, yes, I make a lot of money from sports betting today. Yes, I know what I'm doing today, but it wasn't always like that. I went through a lot of struggles. I lost a lot of money, and I had to do a lot of research before I came or got to the point where I am at today. And that's what this whole video is basically trying to give you, the realism about sports betting, as it's not easy, right? Because there's two things you have to understand to make money in sports betting. Now, obviously, if you go on arbitrage betting or something, it's different, right? But if you're picking bets, if you're a handicapper, then you need to know how to handicap, and then you need to know the mindset and the strategies behind sports betting. Those two things collabing together, then you're going to be a successful sports bettor. Touch on that at the end of the video, right? I'm just going to fast forward now, because this video could literally be a 10-hour video, because I can tell you all of the stuff that I went through just on sports betting over 15 years. But I'm going to round it off now, right? When I was about 21, 22 years of age, I started learning about MMA, mixed martial arts, right? My friend told me, hey, there's this Irish guy, you're probably going to like him. He's funny, he's a good fighter. we like people that are funny and are good fighters in general, right? I didn't watch MMA at this point at all. I knew what it was, but I didn't watch it. I had done some boxing in the past, but I had done no grappling, no mixed martial arts, no kickboxing, nothing like that. I didn't really care about the sport. I was 21, 22 years old, don't really give a shit about it. But my friend told me, like, you will like Conor McGregor. He said, there's this cocky Irishman, he's a good fighter, he's funny, watch him, you will like him. And then I didn't watch him. I remember my mate telling me that once. We was done outside the block of some flats and he told me that. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And we just went about our day. And then about 2 weeks later, I was on Facebook and I saw one of my mates post up a compilation of McGregor highlights, but press conference highlights. And this was before he fought Chad Mendes. I think it was the fight before Chad Mendes. And at this point, he had already built up somewhat of a reputation. So this was like 2014, around 2014, I think it would be, probably around that time, 2015, 2014. I was like either 2014 or 2015. And I watched this compilation. I was laughing, you know. McGregor was making jokes and stuff. I was like, oh, this geezer's funny. That's the fella that my mate told me about. Let me watch his fights. So then I typed his name in on YouTube, watched a couple of his fights, and I was like, oh, this guy's a great fighter, you know, like he's landing good boxing on me. And I was a big boxing fan at that point. You know, I had liked boxing a lot. I had trained boxing a little bit, and I just liked watching boxing. And obviously McGregor, the guy's primarily a boxer. He's knocking people out with a fist. So then I started to watch him a little bit. And after I did that, I basically just became a fan of MMA. That's where it started. It was from McGregor. You can call me a casual. That's where the love of the game started for me. And so I started training MMA straight away. You know, I started with Thai boxing, then I done, you know, grappling came after. But basically 22 years old, around there, I was introduced to the world of mixed martial arts. And because I was already a gambler, of course I'm going to start betting on mixed martial arts, right? So then I started betting on mixed martial arts. And I took what I had learned from the previous 7 years, and mainly the previous 2 years when I actually dedicated myself to learning something, even though it wasn't that much in those 2 years, I took that into mixed martial arts. And I found that I was actually very good at picking fights. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I'd done boxing before. Maybe it was because I was really interested in it. I don't really know what it is, but I found that I was better than most people at picking fights. Obviously, I still wasn't a great handicapper overall. I mean, me now compared to then, it's hilarious difference. You know, it's like an amateur compared to a pro now. But I was decent, right? And I think because I had some early success with it, I think that just motivated me more to keep betting on it more and more, right? And then over the next 2 or 3 years, I was, you know, from about 2014, 2015 to like 2017, 2018, I was just betting on MMA all the time, learning a lot, and I actually started to make money for the first time in my life, for the first time in my sports betting career. At this point, we're like about 9 years in, at this point, I actually started to make money consistently as well. Like I'd make money most months. And I'm like, oh shit. And obviously I was still learning about sports betting at this point. I started to track my bets around this point. And I actually started to focus 100% on MMA at this point. I made the decision around this time as well. I was like, I'm only going to bet on MMA now. I ain't going to bet on football. I ain't going to bet on nothing because I'm actually making money on MMA. And I weren't really making money on anything else consistently. So then I started to focus full time on MMA. And then I started to make a lot of money. I moved to Australia. I went for a holiday in Australia in like 2017. So like 2 years after I learned about MMA, 2 or 3 years after I learned and started betting on MMA, I went to Australia and we went on a road trip this was actually in New Zealand. So I went from Australia to New Zealand and I went on a road trip, right? And I was broke at this point. Obviously in London I had a bit of money at times. Then I went broke. I was, you know, coming up, didn't have any money. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, my family, I didn't have a lot of money. And in New Zealand, I had even less money, right? Because obviously I moved out with my parents, early 20s, 20 years old, 21 years old. So now I had to pay rent, the first time in my life I'm paying rent, paying food, etc., etc. And I was broke, right? I had no money. And we went on a road trip and we were super broke on this road trip. Me and my mate, we had basically no money at all. And the only income I had was sports betting. So I was betting while I was on the road on Bet365 and I was earning money while I was on the road trip. And I was earning a lot of money as well. Like, I mean, at that time for me, I was earning a lot of money. And the road trip was great because of the money I had coming in. I had done so many things on that road trip strictly because of sports betting. I went swimming with dolphins. It was like $700, and I paid that all through sports betting. We were staying in decent accommodation. I had food at any point. And bearing in mind, if I didn't have sports betting, I'd have no money at this point. I'd have to cut the road trip off and go and find a job or something. So I was earning a decent amount of money. It's not a lot of money, right, to me now. But at the time, I was earning a lot of money from betting on MMA. And I've been betting on MMA for multiple years at this point, 3-4 years, right? And I'm tracking as well at this point. So tracking my bets, I'm earning money. For the first time in my life, I'm like, damn, man, I'm actually making some money betting on MMA. It's been 10 years and I'm finally making money from sports betting. And at this point, I knew I could take this far, right? I knew it. I was like, all right, I'm earning good money now. If my stakes were higher, I'd be fucking balling. The only reason I'm not earning that much money comparatively is that my stakes are low. I'm betting $100 on a bet, right? If I was betting $1,000 on a bet, then I'd be laughing. So I just went all in. I continued to bet. Now I started to learn more. Now we get to 11 years in the game, 12 years in the game. And at this point, I'm fully earning money from sports betting. Around this time, I decided to make my YouTube channel and my Twitter. I think I made a YouTube channel first, Lucrative MMA, which is the channel that you're watching right now. I made this in 2019. So that's about 5 years after I've been betting on MMA, and about 10 years since I've been betting in general, maybe 11 years since I've been betting in general. And from then on, I've gone from strength to strength to strength. I'm a much better sports bettor now than when I first made my YouTube channel 5 years ago. And that was 10 years in the game. So now I'm 15 years in the game. So it took me, to break it down, I was losing money for the first 7 years of my gambling life. Like literally like losing money for 6 or 7 years. Then I started to make a bit of money. And 10 years in the game, I was actually making money, right? When I got to the 10-year period of sports betting, consistently, I could say to myself, I'm actually earning money now, right? I'm actually earning some good money. This is nice. I'm consistently earning money. Well done. Finally, you made it 10 years in. And then 15 years in, I'm making a lot of money. Like I'm doing really well. There's been multiple periods in my life around that time, a little bit before that time, where the only income I have is sports betting. I've traveled because of sports betting. I'm staying in nice hotels because of sports betting. I've done a lot because of sports betting. That's around 15 years in, or from 10 years in to 15 years in, around that time, somewhere there, maybe 12 years in, 13 years in, etc., etc. So basically, I didn't earn any money, really. I couldn't say that I've earned money from sports betting until 10 years in. So people watching this video are going to be like, damn, that's a long ass time, right? Doesn't mean that it's going to take you that long, because it might not take you that long. It probably won't take you that long, because like I said, I wasn't all in until like the 10-year period. The 10-year period, when I started earning money, that's kind of when I went all in, kind of when I moved out of London, to be honest, because obviously now I'm not distracted by old friends, old habits, old whatever it may be. I ain't distracted anymore. I could kind of focus and go all in on something, and that's what I did with sports betting. So yeah, this is basically just a story of how I came to sports bet, how long it took me, and just understand, it doesn't have to take you this long as well, right? But I really want to paint a realistic picture to you, because people will try and sell you a dream and say you can become a millionaire in 1 year or 2 years. It's not the case. When I'm making videos and I'm saying I want to make $1 million from sports betting in 2024, which I do, and that's my goal, I'm not saying you are going to be able to do it in as well. I'm saying me personally, that's what my goal is, because it is my goal. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to say what I'm trying to do. But at that point, 2024, I've been betting for 15 years? I mean, we just made it consistently about 15 years, 14, 15 years. So it's not like I've been betting for 2 years and now I'm trying to make $1 million. 15 years later, I'm trying to make $1 million. If I've been doing something for 15 years and I can't make $1 million from it, then I better fucking do something else. If I've been doing something for 15 years and I ain't good at it, I better do something else. So when I'm saying I'm a good sports bettor, I make videos about, this is how you make money, I'm speaking from experience. I've been doing it for 15 years. I should be able to speak about it. Like I said, if I'm not good after 15 years, then I better find something else to do. So you have to be realistic with yourself and understand that it's not easy to make money from this game. You can start making money from this game instantly. You can literally make money from this game the first week that you do it, because you can hit a parlay or you can win bets on the first week. It doesn't mean you are good. The most important lessons that I've learned, and I'm literally going to make another video on that right after I cut off this video. I'm going to make another video on the most important lessons that I've learned ever from sports betting. But just to touch on it now, the most important lessons I've learned have not come from winning bets. They've come from being in the game for 15 years, making mistakes, and going through so many different periods in those 15 years that I can use all of that knowledge, put it together, and use it to my advantage moving forward. It's only because I've been in the game for 15 years I can be confident that I can be in the game for another 15 years and profit. And by the way, I probably won't be in the game for another 15 years because I'm going to move on to bigger and better things. But I will be in the game for another few years for sure, probably. And I am confident that I'm going to make a lot of money. I mean, it's not even confidence. I know for a fact I'm going to make a lot of money. But that's only because I've been in it for 15 years. So the lessons that you need to be successful at sports betting are not going to come after a year or 2 years. They're going to come after 5 years, after 6 years, because you need to go through all types of hardships, trials, tribulations to actually know what you're doing at this game. And you can fast forward your success by watching videos like this, watching other videos on my channel. I've got loads of videos, watching videos from other people telling you how to sports bet. But you're still going to need to make the mistakes yourself. You're still going to need to go through the mental hurdles yourself in order to earn a lot of money. That's just facts. That's my belief. And I think you can speed it up. I don't think you need 15 years like me. I don't think you need 10 years like me. But I do think you need 4 years. I do think you need 5 years to actually learn money. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the story. That's my origin story of sports betting. I left a lot out. But like I said, I don't want to be here for an hour, right? So I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you took something away from it. I hope your expectations are more realistic now and you don't think that you're going to become the world's best sports bettor in 2 years, even if you've gone for a crazy hot streak in 1 year and you already think you're the world's best sports bettor. Because like I said, longevity in this game is more important than anything else. So good luck on your bets and I'll see you in the next video.